Welcome, BBCers, to our second episode of Reddit Reacts. We're still going with, but we're just going to be reacting to Summoner School Reddit thread. What they call it?
Maybe we should ask the audience.
What should we call this series?
What should we call this segment?
Because we're pretty much just going to be reacting to Summoner School at this point. There's a lot of good content.
There's a lot of great stuff, yeah.
I mean, we had so much fun that first episode, and it seems like a lot of people liked this format. So we're going to keep. This is going to be an experiment. We're experimenting, guys. We just don't know what they're doing. We're just going to react. We're just going to shoot out some thoughts, and Smart Nathan is going to roast some. I'm just kidding. We're going to be a bit more civilized on this episode. Let's take a look. All right. So, what's the first one here? Most problems that novice players, that's a big word for me, novice players experience are simple, but that doesn't mean they're dumb. This is interesting. Should we dive into this one, Curtis?
Most problems that novice players experience are simple, but that doesn't mean they're dumb.
So people are saying that low elo players is dumb. Is that what people are saying?
Let's get into it, Nathan.
All right. I don't know who needs to hear this, but I see this in a lot of different discussions of competitive games. It's kind of a cope, okay, that low-level players party around ideas that the skillful has increased over time, that the competition in lower ranks is harder than ever, that you can see plenty of high-level concepts even in beginner ranks. We've talked about this a lot. This comes from, I assume, a collection of wrong ideas brought about a learning ecology of YouTube videos, performance add-ons, and consumption of Discord technology. But this is incorrect thinking that will hold you back. No, you aren't any closer to climbing just because you know a little bit of macro since 2 years ago. The issues that a lot of people run into in my normal games are generally not issues of being outplayed by low-ranked chess masters. They're simple mistakes they have not drilled out and made second nature. That's true, right? We cool with that? But this isn't to say someone who falls into these mistakes are dumb or insufficient in some way. Absolutely not. Physics, math, chess are actually very straightforward, logical, and even simple. The rules never change. There is no randomness, and if you apply concepts and ideas consistently, you will always get the correct answer. However, not everyone is good at these things, and that's because the thing you use to process these problems, your brain is not a computer. It's a piece of meat. It is a collection of analog objects that cannot simply download logic. Your biology has to create a new physical connections between them by repetition. All right, scroll down. Jesus, this is massive. So what are we getting at here? Because of this in the past, I've taught people...
I think you missed the paragraph.
Sorry. Connections in your brain are not wires like a computer. They're more like roads gradually being built up into highways. Learning a concept only creates the barest of transport between two neurons. So this guy like a professor or something, dude. Like I'm getting lectured here on how the brain works. Like a dirt path through the mountains. It's only through repetition that this road can slowly be upgraded from a dirt path to cobblestone all the way up to being a high-speed thoroughfare. Because of this, in the past, when I've taught people martial arts, so we went from the brain to martial arts.
It's just funny. This guy knows everything.
It was always pushed to not even expose novices to high-level concepts or techniques. You always start from the basics, building up a novice like he's building a house. The high-level concepts are just creative applications of foundational concepts. And if people are taught incorrectly, given these concepts without development of the underlying foundation of creativity, they'll easily become confused and frustrated. On the other side, if you build up your foundations like, oh, I'm struggling to read this, dude. I'm really struggling.
Yeah, okay.
This is so poorly written.
It is very poorly written.
What am I reading? What's going on? Is he like, couldn't we just tee out it saying like, we've got to like learn the skills?
He's not an English teacher, that's for sure. There's many things, but not an English teacher.
I know this has been upvoted because people like love this language. You're not sounding smart. It's really hard to read. Okay. What is going on? I'm so curious to see what the comments are of this. Like, God help me, okay? If there is one high-level professional concept that a lot of players would benefit from learning from high-level players to improve, it will be treating League like a puzzle.
Less like a puzzle
to be figured out and more like a sport to consistently condition oneself in. I can't imagine how many hours each of these high-level players have put in just drilling simple concepts like farming better in lane. That's true, yeah. Or speedrunning jungle. Clears that they can pull them out consistently on the maximum amount of pressure possible.
Okay, that's the main point.
That's a better point.
All right,
we literally got there. It took us like 5 minutes.
Yeah, okay.
All right, I got to see the comments here because what's going on in this thread?
All right, like before we go on, I mean, just thoughts, right? Like to TLDR, at least the way I interpret this post, he's basically saying it's less about complex problem solving and complex skills. It's more about like the underlying like a basics, and then but you got to build muscle memory in these basic concepts. And then if you build the muscle memory, then you're going to be much better. So he's basically kind of saying that in lower ranks, your lower rank, not because you don't understand something, because you don't have the muscle memory of the basics. That's right. Feels like that's what he's saying.
That you're not dumb. You just haven't put the time and the effort.
Yeah, you just haven't put the time on the fundamentals.
100% agree.
Yeah, he's done that in a real weird way. He said that in a really strange way, but I get what he means. And I do agree that, I mean, the theory, we have theories about the way the brain works in that sense. Like you kind of, you do something once and then it's really weak. It's like a weak link. And then you do something over and over again and you just build muscle memory, right? Strengthens that link of the neurons. Yeah. I totally agree with that. And something that I want to kind of riff off this is the more I've coached the game and played the game, the more I've actually realized the best players just do the basic things really well, really consistent. That's like all it is. Like you watch Showmaker and Chovy, they're able to do all of the things that I'm trying to do perfectly every time. They're mistake. Like Chovy doesn't miss CS. He doesn't ruin his wave state. He won't die to random ganks. He won't misplay mechanically. It's like nothing is sexy. He doesn't need like the things that get him to his rank and what make him so good aren't sexy. He'll do those sexy things every now and then, right? But that's not the reason he's so good. We admire him, or he's so high ranked and so high rated or whatever, because of how well he implements the basics. Like I literally just stare at him. I remember I went through a phase of just watching him CS on LeBlanc. It's Showmaker CS. It is one of the
simple skill.
It is so beautiful to watch. Watching someone CS beautifully on LeBlanc, it just gets me off, dude. Like it's
you Curtis is rock hard after he watches some LeBlanc CS in.
It's honestly one of the hardest things to do, and he does it perfectly.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's just literally hit your minions, but it's very difficult to do, but it's beautiful.
So yes, I do agree with this sentiment. He said this in a fuck around way. But anyway, go to the comments.
Yeah, let's look at the comments. What's going on here? I think people are just agreeing.
Let me riff on here, Nathan. So I agree. Scaffolding and scaling. Scaffolding. That's a new one.
We're using all these crazy words.
Scaffolding and scaling are such important tools in learning new skills over time. So that's actually an interesting concept. Scaffolding, right? You build up the scaffolding.
Foundation, right?
Well, no, scaffolding's used to like
make sure.
Oh, it's like you put it on the outside of a building, right? That's how scaffolding. Yeah, so you can build it. Yeah, it like gives you a learning platform, like kind of like a learning platform or something. Anyways, scaffolding and scaling are such important tools in learning new skills over time. Throwing people into the deep end with advanced concepts where they don't know the basics will mostly help create wrong paths and bad habits. Yep, I really like practice tool because of this. Not for everything, of course, because you can focus on one skill, zoom in, practice without the cognitive overload of a real game. In professional learning, it's good to practice. It's good practice to offer people a safe environment to try out skills in before increasing complexity. With this one, this guy who wrote the actual post, he came from a martial arts background, right? He said he come from martial arts. Now, I actually, funnily enough, I done a lot. I went down the deep end down martial arts theory. So there's like
you look at some teachers and stuff.
I was stuck because I like to learn from every coach,
different crafts,
from different craftsmen and everything. And I went down the rabbit hole of jiu-jitsu, specifically a very famous jiu-jitsu coach who actually spoke about teaching Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
You're talking about John Danaher? Is that Danaher?
I can't remember if that was his name. He wrote SBG, and he wrote all these beautiful Medium articles on like how he views the fundamentals of jiu-jitsu and how he formed them, and how you meant to teach jiu-jitsu in the most practical way. He goes deep on fundamentals, right? And basically, what I realized is a key differentiation between jiu-jitsu and league was that a lot of these things in jiu-jitsu and a lot of these traditional sports, they have the luxury of drilling. Drilling is an integral part of learning skills in everything, but specifically martial arts, but a lot of these other traditional sports. You can drill a play in American football. You can drill a specific tackle. You can drill a takedown. You can drill a movement of like whatever it might be.
Basketball.
You can drill everything. You can sit there for hundreds of hours until you master something. Replication, right? But in League, we don't have that. Now, the interesting thing about jiu-jitsu, what I took away from it and the way they teach it is that I might butcher the terms here, but there was something called active, I think it was active drilling or something like that. It was live drilling or active drilling. And what he meant by that was that his biggest problem with jiu-jitsu coaches around the world was that they would teach concepts in a stale environment where it's like, this is not realistic. So let's say you're practicing taking someone down to the ground. In a real environment, if we're in the real world and you're trying to take someone down, they're not just going to stand there all limp and being like, here we go, just take me down. They're going to be more aggressive. They're going to put up a fight. So what his philosophy was that it's the best way to teach jiu-jitsu was to have live or more alive drilling such that the other person's trying to attack you as if it was a real situation. Then we learn.
So that's more like League. That's closer
to
League.
Which is actually interesting like League. And so that's my takeaway from that was that every time you play League, every game you play is simply like one giant live drill. Now, the problem is that obviously there's many other factors at play going on, very similar to live drilling in jiu-jitsu because you might want to get better at an arm bar or something, but then like you got to overcome all these other things to get him in that position. It is very similar in League. So we don't have the ability to first drill that underlying skill.
The closest thing for drilling in League is like going to practice one combo with like Z trick.
Yeah, but that's such a small part of the game, isn't it?
It's very small, yeah.
Because it's like CSing. Okay, use an analogy in League for alive drilling and stale or dead drilling. You can sit there in practice tool and drill CSing in a practice tool. That's very different to learning how to CS when someone's actively trying to zone you and kill you.
Yeah.
Very, very completely different.
Correct.
That's why 1v1s are much better, by the way, than just doing practice tool. So, I do think that League is very different. We don't have that luxury of drilling and isolating skills. You got to do basically this whole alive thing where everything is alive and trying to kill you.
You got to play a game from start to end.
And we don't have the ability to isolate a lot of things. You might try to get better at your first clear and jungling and then they invade at level 1. Right? That could happen. Like you might say, okay, I want to start bot side, play to my top side, but then like you want to get better at a certain clear or something like that, and then they just invade level 1, and then your whole game plan's screwed. And we don't have, you can't predict that.
That's right. This is a good one. It's the most frustrating thing about this community for me. Newbies will come in and ask a simple question. They get some good answers to the top answers, but the replies to that frequently devolve into semantics and advanced concepts that aren't helpful at all. Absolutely. Like, the game, advanced macro, and I hate those words. Like, I just never talk about this in my reviews and my things. It's literally just...
Oh, no, let's go into this because I want to... Okay. Nathan, I actually agree with this guy. This is interesting. I mean, I disagree. Sorry.
Interesting, okay.
So basically this guy, what he says is, I come in, there's like one good response, but the replies frequently devolve into semantics and advanced concepts that aren't helpful at all. For example, if a new player asks about Kazakh's mechanics, they'll get good general advice, but then a bunch of extra information like, well, actually in X matchup, that's not true. You should do this instead. Or you want to invade a lot after 6, or this is true except in these 2 niche situations where it isn't. It's all people trying to be helpful, but it's a lot of advanced specific information that just overcomplicates the answers for a new player is looking for. A new player learning Kazakhs doesn't need to worry about matchups invading niche situations. They need to focus on the basics of the game and the champion. This is interesting though, because it can go both ways. Where do you draw the line of a beginner? Like if someone's, brand new to the game or they're in bronze, right? And silver, you just want to get across the basics. But like, if you call a gold, which is, I would say a large majority of this, somewhat, a beginner, I think they do need to kind of get specific. Like we actually talk a lot about that, Nathan. Like you got to get specific. Like I can't give you general advice on how to win with Kazakhs, like.
Yeah, but getting specific
is the details, though. No, but it's semantics. He says semantics and advanced concepts.
I don't know what semantics
He's conflating the two.
Yeah.
Semantic means like you're getting specific, essentially. You're getting granular.
Okay. Oh, that's great then.
So
I love that
but
word.
these are different. Semantics is completely different to advanced concepts.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Right? Advanced concepts are like we had a whole episode about this. Like, what the fuck is an example concept? We don't really know what it is, but semantics is different.
Didn't we get in that episode? We said that advanced concepts are a series of very specific small
it's
things.
it's fundamentals joined together.
Yeah,
that's what
that's
we
right,
said.
yeah.
Where it's like a few fundamentals joined together.
Oh, dude, if I hear it specifics in a
Well, that's what he said here. Like in this matchup, you shouldn't do this, and you should do this instead, or you should, you want to invade a lot after level 6. These are specifics. Like
That's actually really good.
it's a good advice. Like, yeah, sure, maybe you're not want to get. Okay, do you not want to give this advice to beginners? Or do you want to get them thinking in that way? Like, how do you want to approach beginners? Because this is something we're not good at.
Yeah, I suck
We're
at
not
this.
good at coaching iron and bronzes and silvers and like pre-level 30 players. We're just not. Well, to be honest, I don't even think. Yeah, I think this guy's kind of right and kind of wrong. Like, yes, you do want to give general advice to a beginner, but it's like, what do you call a beginner? If you start to get to silver and gold, you kind of get a little bit specific.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you can't just give general shit. Sometimes I actually feel like general advice can actually hurt you more than help sometimes.
Yep. And this guy, yeah, okay. Yeah.
So I feel like this guy's very confused. I mean, it's a tough one as well.
It's a tough one.
It's a very tough one.
It's definitely a tough
one. I feel
one.
like we'd have to first agree on what a beginner really is.
Yeah.
Newbies.
What does that mean?
What is an, yeah.
What else we got? Ooh, how to stop autopilot in a game.
Did you want to go to the one that this one's for Rival?
Okay.
We don't have to go to the video. It's a transcript here.
Okay.
We can kind of skim through the transcript. Yeah, so Rivals, he's an host content creator. He does top lane content. He's a Riven player. Improving a league is one of the hardest challenges. Sometimes you solo your opponent, you take your tower, but it always feels like there's teammates holding you back. And you only win 50% of games. Why? Well, improvement at a traditional skill is like playing an instrument, very linear. Yep, so that's what we talk about all the time.
He's saying league isn't linear improvement.
It's not linear. We know that.
In an ever-changing game, deep reflecting back, I think I always had the potential to improve, and I knew I could play at a higher level. Let's scroll down.
Scroll down a little bit, reflecting back. So he's missing something here, essentially. So he's as humans, we're subject to letting our emotions dictate the way we play the game. If you have a bad day, you let those experiences probably reflect how you play in game. We speak about this all the time. That's how loss streaks happen. 1 loss makes you upset. 2 losses makes you frustrated. 3 losses makes you angry. I like that. It's really a neat way of putting it. Whenever I get into a negative state of mind, all I want to do is kill the enemy. I forget the basic rules of the game. He neglects a bunch of things. After a 3-month rut of floating between 49 to 51% win rate, I sought out coaching from his good friend and pro player SK Eloise. I don't know how to say his name. So basically, he got these coaching sessions, and the lane was pretty easy. He got some heavy advantages in his VODs. About halfway through the lane, he suggested going for a kill. Eloise, the coach, pulled him up on his idea and immediately told me he needed to break my kill mentality. He said, why would we go for a flip kill here because that could go wrong and that could get the enemy back into the game instead of just basing, spending our gold, and then getting a kill in 2 minutes later. That's like 100%, right? Where there's no way it's going to go wrong. This perspective is something that I've been missing and I've been actively thinking of when I play the game now that gets great results. Playing to the residing rules of the game, playing objectively with a clear mind has helped me win games that I know I would have lost in the past. I think everyone knows how League works and what to do and what not to do, but we often fall in traps of undisciplined and egotistical gameplay, leading to bad habits and inconsistency in our game. Your playstyle habits are directly related to the things we do repeatedly in game, which often, unfortunately, are the wrong things because we tend to do the play that feels the best, not the play that is objectively the best. It's a really interesting. I don't really know how to. We maybe need to go back over that one. This is literally what overplaying is so much over the time. How often have you taken Baron, wiped the enemy team, taken an inhib, but then died in the enemy base because you just didn't leave after the inhib? This happens every second game, and it's purely an ego play or for fun gameplay.
Lack of discipline.
Yeah. So you cannot tell me that it is ever the right play compared to basing. You cannot tell me that is, I don't know what this means. So anyway, I guess what I'm trying to say is observe old habits, break the ones that are holding you back, just like I had to do with my kill mentality. Breaking that habit was what solely led to my jump in LP. Games just seemed to open up for me and opportunities were everywhere. As I said to Aloy, I wanted to go for that flip kill and he pulled me up on it. I saw an opportunity to go for the kill and that was more risk than reward. His proposal was literally all reward with no risk. Just be patient. Furthermore, don't force plays. Every single player makes mistakes. Keep playing correctly and consistency until the enemy missteps, minimize deaths, etc. So, I think there's some good stuff here, a bit of general stuff. Anything that jumps out to you in this one?
I think this is what we talked a lot about was it the last Reddit Reacts episode that we did, talking about players struggling to to think what does that kill lead to?
Understand the
low
value of
impact
the kills,
kills,
yeah. I think what I get from this is that Rival doesn't really review his games.
No.
That's what I get from this, really.
Right,
I mean, I think it's great that to get a coach to objectively look at things for you. But I think that if you understand the game really well, you know, you can look at a kill and you understand objectively what do you get from it. Or you look at a death and why did I die? What did I not consider, you know?
He's a Riven player as well. And if you think about the skill set of Riven, that you really know how to kill people. You know how to
kill people, yeah.
But you probably miss a lot. He would have to really look at his games a lot to... He knows that. That's like my Rengar players, like in Salt, my assassin players. They know how to kill people, but they're really bad at killing the Nexus. They don't understand what these kills lead, and they actually use their abilities on a low impact kill. Now they have no ults, and then now they lose so much from it. So,
well, I think what's led to him being in this hole is that he's got a kill but traded kills, and he's viewed that as okay. Like he's like 2-0, but then he like gets a kill. He's 3-1 though. He's traded his life for the kill.
That's dirty.
And then he might still win that game, but he doesn't call himself out for making the game sloppy. He hasn't actually held himself to a high standard. And what I would also say here is that I disagree with one of the points here. He said something about we tend to do the play that feels the best, not the play that is objectively the best. I disagree with that. I mean, okay, I agree and disagree. I agree that we do make the play that feels the best, but that's good. So let me break this one down. So let's say in the game, Rival, for whatever reason, feels like going for that kill is the best play, right? In order to change his behavior moving forward, you don't have to objectively think more about the game.
You can't do that.
You can't do that.
The game.
You don't do that in the game. You play how you feel. You make that mistake. Then you review it after, and that changes how you feel next time.
Yeah.
So you only ever play with feel in those situations. There's no change.
Because the way you learn from the painful experiences for me is, again, I'll do it. Like in the game, I have to obviously notice that it was painful, and in the review, I see, and then what you happen in the game, you start to see the factors. You start seeing like the things that are like, ooh, like let's say overstay is the most important one. You're like, you see the death timers start ticking down. You have a feel for like, oh, this has happened before.
Yep.
It's coming because you can feel the bad situation coming, and then you're back. But it's because it's based on the painful experiences and the review. That's why it's so important.
And threat assessment, all this stuff, it has to be feel. It has to come via feel. So you don't
have time to objectively.
You're not just going to randomly step back and be like, objectively. It's like, I should not do this. I should reset.
It's split seconds in league.
If you don't feel that, you're going to make the mistake every time. You don't have a coach looking over your gameplay, doing a live review while you're fucking playing. So it's not going to happen. No. Right? So, I won't, just call him out on that because I just think that's too theoretical. I think it's a great point though. I think, I mean, that seems like the main point here was that sometimes doing less is more, right? I will say one last thing about this. At a very simple level, this sounds really simple, but it's simple but goddamn effective. If you don't have the necessary information to make the play, then don't fucking make the play.
That's a very good rule of thumb.
Like if you don't know where their jungler is, and sure, you can maybe get this kill if theoretically he wasn't there, don't go for the play.
It's by nature that's coin flip.
Again, there's the specifics, and if the guy's a 600 goal shot, 700 goal shot down, you're gonna get it.
That's
I get
true.
that.
Yeah, that's worth.
But like if we're talking a relatively even game state, and the game's just even, whatever. You got to it's like that. What's the word? It's like you gotta, if you don't know where the jungler is, you gotta play as if he's there. If you don't have the necessary information, right? You gotta play as if he's there. And yes, the jungler might just show bot. You're like, oh gosh, I could have got that kill. No, you shouldn't have. You couldn't have got that kill. You didn't know where he was. So I see it time and time and time again. People make plays as if they think I could get away with it, and then they die because sometimes they get away with it, and then sometimes they don't.
That's inconsistency.
That's where the inconsistency comes from.
For us at our level, Curtis, every single decision you make, let's say your best games of Fizz and stuff, every decision you make is high percentage.
Yeah.
Right? You've taken no risks.
Yeah.
Right? Same with me for Rek'Sai. That's the consistency in the gameplay.
In my best games.
My best games, I could literally show you guys and break it down. Every decision I made was based on a certain level of information or some thought process. Nothing's coin flip.
Nothing's coin flip. I'm shoving this wave because I want to bounce it, get on my side, or I want to shove because I want to help my jungler here. I'm gonna shove this wave in group because the enemy have a lot of engage. Every decision is made with intention. Yeah, spot on.
That's what Great League of Legends looks like.
Yeah. Yep. Spot on.
All right, let's read the comments here. This post feels like when you look up a recipe and you have to scroll through 70% story to get to what you actually did. I like that comment a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot of it.
All right,
yeah.
that's an interesting comment.
The script wasn't meant to be read. I mean, there's a lot of flame. I think poor rival, man. He's just trying to help people out and he's just getting flamed. So let's how can the moral of the story be to simply observe bad habits and break them on your own?
I was just saying that the only way that he was going to realize would be
not that I think everyone needs coaching. Yeah, I mean, I do agree. It is a little bit like it is hard to spot your own habits, but I think the way I think the point that he's trying to get is that like it's not that in order to improve, it's not like you need to learn something new. It's sometimes fixing a mistake, right? Like there's something there going wrong. You just got to kind of investigate and
well, the title of this thread is change his perspective,
right?
Which gained him the LP. So this coach has given him a new perspective.
It basically is a bit of it's kind of hard to change perspective without a coach, isn't it?
Yeah, getting someone.
Unless
it's
you
like
watch
that
content.
example when you were stuck and then I just came and said,
you came and said
basic.
this,
You know, Curtis, you're dying to compensation roams on the crabs, you know? Like, what are we doing?
All right, I think we move on. Okay, we've got...
Let's quickly look at, I'm curious, is flashing for Scuttle Crab ever worth it? Because I'm going to say no. At MSI, I mean, pro play is about very, very, very small advantages. I would have to look at the specifics, but I literally could never think in one of my games or my reviews where I've ever told someone to flash for a crab. So no.
Look at the top comment. I thought in this case it was more of a mental game. It's true. That does happen. That 100% happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is a mental aspect to playing competitive. There is. You can mentally break your opponent.
Yeah. And again, it's so hard to get little leads. Every
little thing's
important in competitive.
And especially when like if you're already down a game or down 2 games, like imagine if you're down 0-2 and then that happens, like that will just piss you. Little things like that can demoralize you. It's all about, and you got to remember in competitive, it's view it as like a meta within a meta. It's like a mini biome of like nothing really applies outside of this series, especially when in series, like nothing kind of, it's like you got to take it. Whatever happens in the series happens in the series. Like it's very hard to extrapolate from what happens from a competitive game because there's so many things going on behind the scenes.
Like the draft and that sort of stuff.
Then we move on for this one.
All right, next.
Not really interesting there. Okay, let's go this one. Should I always target the easiest target as AD carry? Context: was playing a game where I was fed as Cogmore, but the opposing AD carry was a fed Jhin. In some team fights, it felt like I was successful in killing their front line, but after Jhin killed mine. We fought and he always beat me because he had Collector and Dark Harvest. In these team fights, should I be prioritizing doing damage to the easiest target or trying to kill the Jhin during the fight? We don't have enough information to answer this question. I mean, this is just a classic example of just no screenshot.
No.
There's no specifics about the game state. We don't know what items you have. We know nothing.
The situation.
How can we comment? It's just like, I mean, and look at this. Your job as and this is the top comment here. Your job as Cogmore is to eat their front line. Jhin is not your responsibility. How are you supposed to go through the front line and hit the Jhin? This should never be allowed. I mean, look. I mean, this is just a problem. This thread is a problem, isn't it? This one.
Yeah, there should be. There's nothing to say.
Yeah, there's nothing really much to say.
I mean, go way back. Let's look at the early game, the lane phases.
Look at the lane. Come on. But you know, look, if he has a problem with team fighting, sure. But let's show us a very specific clip. Let's show us the game state. Like this is the problem, Nathan. Like we're talking about Reddit reacts in this segment we're doing. Like we're not just reacting to we're not just here to answer the questions.
No,
we're here to react to the shitty quality questions. So like this is the thing that's happening out there.
These are the type of questions people are asking.
This is the type of questions. Our goal here is to educate you guys watching this. Like,
what's a good question? What's a bad question?
If you wanted to get better at your team fighting at Cogmore, send us like 5 team fights. Right? Send us. Do a little montage clip of 5.
He's literally saying one game here.
One team fight and like one team fight. Like, what should I do here? Because there are situations where
there might be no answer as well to this. You know, sometimes the rest of their champions somehow they're killing your frontline faster. It's not always just the Jhin. There might be no answer. Your team's too far, but like there's no information here.
Or maybe the answer was that you don't team fight this. You give that objective and then stall for one more item. And,
yeah,
you know,
exactly right.
Maybe that's the item. We have no idea.
It's just general questions give general answers and nothing
Yep,
gets
general. That's it. Articulately put. General questions get general answers, or shitty questions give shitty answers. That's it. Generally speaking, get me out of this, Charles. I don't want to see this anymore. Making me angry by the second. Okay,
I don't like the champion, AP champ. Am I everything bot lane was actually hard to play?
Okay, this might be all right. Come on, Dat Frosty boy, give us a question here, Nathan. What do you reckon?
All right, so is bot lane hard to play? Whenever I'm field bot, I'm always on pure survival instinct playstyle the entire lane phase. I don't want to trade unless the enemy forces me to. I don't want to fight unless I have my jungler. And even then, I don't want my jungler coming down. Why would that? Well, that's interesting. I like that mindset, though. This is good. I just want to coin flip the game. Oh, wait. What the hell? It just randomly went crazy. I just want to coin flip the game. I hope I can scale enough to the point where it matters. Oh, wait. He means like if hopefully he sits back and he can
scale gets his adders.
I don't play this role, and if I want desperate.
If I wasn't desperate for every LP I can get, I would have dodged. How's this at 446 upvotes? Nathan, just read what we just said. Can we just reiterate what we just said here? He doesn't play the role. He's filled. So he's filled in bot lane, right? So he's asking a question about a role that he's filled on.
Of course it's hard. You don't play it.
And he's saying he's so desperate for the LP, so he doesn't want to dodge. But he says, recently I've been trying to give the role an actual shot, trying to actually learn how to play it, and it's miserable. So he's just recently started. He says miserable, Nathan.
Welcome to... So if think about it, if he's playing his same ELO, learning a new role, of course it's going to be miserable. I don't know. Like, what's his process for learning a new champion?
He's getting overwhelmed because he's saying, do I want to fight? But because in a 2v2, you have to consider like how the sports interact, etc. Spot on.
I would say that literally, I don't think any role is significantly harder than anything else. Like,
Nathan,
you have a job to do.
This is just a complete disrespect for the game of League of Legends.
It is, isn't it?
Right? Isn't it? It's just like I want to fill this role. I don't get it.
To be this good at this role randomly going, or it's like, oh, it must be really hard to play.
No, he's looking for a quick solution. The way this is framed is that there is a step by step, like 5 tips, and then you get that, and then like you've cracked the code. Like that's what he's looking for here. He's not there is a lot of specific information about supports. Like you need to learn how to play versus a Nautilus or versus a Yuumi and versus Sonar. You need to learn how to play versus like a Jhin or an Aphelios, and like it's all different. There's a lot of knowledge there that needs to be refined. Bot lane is a lot about matchups. The way you play versus a Pyke is very different.
That's not harder than any other role.
That's just knowledge.
So think about those are the skills you need to learn in bot lane. And AD carry, they don't have to know what's going on top, mid, and all that. So exactly. As a jungle, I need to know waves, win conditions, my resets. That's a separate skill. So I really hate when people ask the question, what's the hardest role in the game to play? Like, we could like break it down,
They're all hard.
But they're all hard and they have a job to do and they have a different skill set.
Yep.
Welcome to the game. And you got to respect that.
It's interesting. A better quality question, if you wanted to play the role properly and learn the game, a better quality question would be something like, okay, I've tried out AD carry. I just want a little bit of direction. What are some fundamentals in this role that I can follow that can get my learning journey started? Right. And that's where you would talk about wave states, because bot lane is largely all about wave states, maybe like bush control or
so you're able to get
learning how to get do you know how to stack waves? Do you know how to stack waves into a reset? Do you understand the value of doing a 2-stack, 3-stack? Do you understand the value of holding the wave on your side when your jungler's like pathing down and like stuff like that? Like, or do you understand when your champ spikes and like stuff like that? Like just real basic stuff. Do you understand how to punish people when they're trying to CS? Like, when they go for a last hit, you maybe posture up aggressively. Just stuff like that. It's like fundamentals of bot lane. I mean, the question is so.
Here's another question as well. Another high quality question is, new advice for new ADC player to the role. What are the common mistakes you guys made when you first started playing AD carry?
Great question. I really like that question.
Because it sounds like the answer he's looking for here is...
Oh, he just wants to say, it's hard, man.
It's hard to play, yeah. It's like, it makes sense why you're losing games. It's all good. It's just so hard. And then
what are the comments like, out of interest? What are the comments like?
Oh, great. Every role is hard to play. And each has its own challenges. You say you've been given the role, an actual shot. It seems you've far less experience. Great. Love this. Then he says it's a clarity issue. So he responded, if I lose top, I understand everything that led up to that moment. If I lose bot, I don't. So is he a top laner? So it must be.
Yeah, so he was a top laner or something, and now he's saying, did I misplay? Did I run it down? I mean, they're basically the same question. I don't know what that means. Did they simply play it really well? I don't know. I mean, it's me or my support completely. If it, I mean, I don't really know what he's saying here, but he can't confidently say what would have made the difference or not. Play 100 games and let me know. Get back to me.
Love it.
Right?
Yeah.
Play 100 games.
We're done with this thread.
This is just.
We're done with this
today,
thread.
The Reddit's not good this week, Nathan.
Some very lazy questions.
Moving on. Down. No, don't care about builds.
Nope.
Okay. No, I mean, there's about 80 carry stuff. Keep trying to jungle monsters.
Nah.
Nathan, no, it doesn't bother you.
Nope.
Why is luck so popular? Okay. So it might be interesting. I've reached gold from iron in what's realistically my first season. Here are some tips/insights for anyone struggling below. I mean, honestly, maybe we can learn from this guy here because we need to learn tips.
Would know more than us.
He's done it.
If he's done it, this
guy actually knows more than us. All right, let's. So he started in season 10. He played around 150 to 200 games, both in season 10 and 11 combined, but on 300 ping. He basically only played ARAMs. At the start of season 12, he moved places, got better internet, started playing from iron at 130 ping. Bloody hell. He plays Kayle and Aurelia mid. Most of his games with an occasional top lane. My insights and tips will be mostly focused on mid and top. Here are some observations regarding players low gold and below. Number 1, most don't give emphasis on level 2 spike. You either need to actively contest that and get level 2 advantage, or recognize if you can't match the contest, concede lane player.
Nice,
it's always give and take. I love that. Really simple advice. Practical. That's beautiful advice, actually. I'll be honest, even as Kayle, I have faced very few freezes. Peer players in low elo are very restless and go in autopilot pushing. Exactly like I said, and I got roasted for that one. I've seen only gold players somewhat actively slow pushing, but freezing is still not done as much as it should be. Number 3, Baron calls are very sleazy and slow. Players don't actively try to take Baron when a pick is made during mid-game. I see that all the time, even in Platinum.
Yep.
Like, especially in Platinum, you just don't see
hesitation. And
mid-game, you get a pick, you Baron.
Yeah.
Baron.
Well, it's situational.
Situational, but like
I'm not Baron versus a Lux and a AP Cogmore or something like that.
But like in my eyes, there's some extremely obvious Baron calls.
Right, yeah.
Like, because it's so what's interesting, by the way, I thought about this. My default response, Nathan, when I get like 1 or 2 picks in mid game, is I always question the Baron, and then it's like, can I? And then
it's like a flow chart.
No, it's like, we got to pick. Can I Baron? Yes or no?
Yeah, then that's a flow chart. And then you say no, you have no reason why.
No,
right?
and then right. But that's my default response. Pick. Can we Baron? That's literally it. It goes from 0, like bam, bam.
I guess it's not a flow chart, is it? It's just straight up.
Just bam, bam.
Yes or no question.
Yes or no. It's like, and then like
in the review, it becomes a flow chart.
Like I'm legit just like, that's my default response. And then last one, people die over dragons quite stupidly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Junglers will go to a dragon regardless of lane pro or anything like that.
Do you and scuttles as well? Have you noticed that? Does that happen in your goal reviews?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, in goal reviews for sure. Yeah, I remember highlighting, I think I had it was in a platinum. I said, guys, like let's say because my jungler's track level 1, I was like, guys, I'm just going to show you how poor this is from the enemy jungler. Just showing you guys. I remember showing it to my gold players, a platinum review session. This happens in platinum, guys. Look at how bad decision making is from this jungler as an example of the consequences of not knowing where the enemy jungler started.
Have you ever, do you do reviews where your client like goes to like go for scuttle and then like he has no prior and then dies? Or is that just basics?
Only new people that join Salty, but I end the review instantly that mistake because I said I never want to see this from you again.
Because I see that in my reviews
from junglers.
From junglers in my mid game, so like in my gold
Salty
reviews.
students don't do that.
It's like whenever I say this guy needs to go to the Salty. Like this is bad.
Yeah,
like
that's really
like
bad.
The amount of times in my gold reviews, by the way, where like where they will die on a scuttle, the enemy jungle, and they have no prior mid top, and then they spam ping mid. It's insane.
I'll whip that person into shape. so quickly, honestly.
It's out of
Honestly,
control.
if you can collect a montage of them, just note me the game. I will make a montage of it and just like put it out there.
Yeah.
Just show how basic the jungler's
It's
mistakes
bad.
are making.
Whenever I see that,
That's the worst mistake you could ever make as a jungler.
It is.
Because it's so basic.
it's so basic, and you see it so commonly.
And then they ping the mid laner.
Yep,
God,
they ping the
help
mid
me,
laner.
dude.
I had one in a master tier in EU this morning, right?
Yeah.
Alados plays Cassidy. He had a Kane jungle, right? His jungler picked Kane, and the jungler he was versing a Lilia that came, and the Lilia did like a vertical and like was like contesting his blue or some shit, and then Cassidy was getting slow built on by someone, and then the fight went into the river, and then obviously Cassidy's getting slow built on. He had like I think 2 waves under his tower. I think the wave was just bouncing out. Like he had all his minions near his tower. And the enemy had first move mid. And then the Kane chased into the river, died, and then started questioning my picking mid. And just started saying, like, Cassidy, why
This
you
is
know?
master tier.
This is master tier in EU.
It's embarrassing.
How crazy is that?
Yeah.
It's just, I'm saying this as not like to give people hope. Like, this is happening, you know, we're talking about mistakes being made at low elo. No, this happened at very, very high elo as well. All right. So continuing on anyway, tips for mid lane in general. CS goal should be at least be 8 to 9. This will alone get you to mid-silver, no joke. Consistent and guaranteed gold is greater than flips and skirmishes in River or anywhere else. To achieve this goal, here are a few pointers. Pick champs that are decent, good at wave clearing. Prioritize them over good trading champions. Interesting. This is great advice, by the way. This is super interesting, isn't it? Like coming from someone who plays in this elo bracket. Side lane a lot. Okay. May or may not be applicable to some champs in their play style. Take jungle camps if you're either fed or the jungler is in the opposite side of the map or dead. You taking it helps him anyways because by the time he comes around, he'll probably have a fresh and high level camp. Number 3, play really selfish, especially if you're a scaling champion. Number 4, I learned this from Elite 500. Place the water raptors around 125. It will make jungle tracking very easy. Number 5, watch Chovy every now and then. In my opinion, he plays the game I observe League to be played, farming over everything. Okay, the stuff we can dive into. We'll come back to this stuff. And then tips for Kale, stuff about Kale. We don't really need to go into this stuff. So before we go into the comments, I just want to, just highlight a few things here. So this guy obviously has the most merit. He actually has more merit than me when it comes to this. So a few things to keep in mind though.
Here's the question of climbing from I would say, a beginner and iron player to gold.
With 130 ping as Kale and Aurelia. Let's keep that in mind. With Kale and Aurelia.
That's right.
Kale,
that's
Aurelia. Kale, Aurelia. Okay. This is not Vex.
Well, he played Aurelia as well.
He was Kale and Aurelia player,
Oh, my
wasn't he?
bad.
I'm pretty sure.
I thought it was only Kale.
I think at the top he said Kale and Aurelia. So again, that makes sense. That's why he likes farm a lot. That's why he has scaling oriented champions. He likes to go to the side lane. So this number 2 point where he wants to side lane a lot, that's literally the opposite advice I give to most people. Funnily enough, I would say that you have and this is where champ specifics come into play, right? If you're playing Aurelia and Kale, you definitely need a lot of farm. So his mindset is probably farm, and then like
that's good. I think the side laning for those champs is very good.
It makes sense, yeah.
But if you're playing Vex,
if you're playing Vex and Annie and all these other champs, like Malzahar and stuff, you're not going to side lane like that. You want to ARAM.
So those things should be in the champ specific.
Yeah, that's champ specific. Very champ specific. I do like the idea that pick champs that are good at wave clearing. That is actually very true. Like because wave clear is just so good in mid. Like if you have wave clear, it's so much easier to play the game. I don't agree that you should get an 8 or 9 CS on every champ. I mean, you very, very rarely see that at gold. You don't even see that in play. You don't even see that in diamond.
No.
What ranks are you going to get that, especially in silver and gold? So I think that's a bit too high. Play selfishly, especially if playing. I don't mind that. It makes sense. It is better because, again, easy to execute. The warding is good. I like the ward tip at 125. Very practical, solid advice. And then, it's good to watch Chovy. I mean, it can't hurt, but I don't think you're going to take away much, honestly. No, I mean, he's playing in it. It's like literally different world, different universe.
Yeah. I mean, look at the last episode of Broke My Concept, episode 101. You talked about not even watching Korean server.
Yeah, no,
pods.
I try to watch like closer to whatever's more realistic to me. Like I prefer watching NA or EU over Korea for that reason. But I love these sort of things. These are the people that actually, in my opinion, he's not a theorist. He's executed. He's done this shit and he got him results.
Absolutely.
He's got more merit than anyone else I've seen.
Yep.
I love this stuff. Anything in the comments? Here we go. Someone calls him on the CSing. A silver player is really hitting 8-9 CS per minute. Is that overkill? Because that sounds pretty pro from my point. Yeah. Good job. Pay attention though, my friend. If you can get better internet, your climb past gold will be difficult because you'll get outplayed by.
Because he's not used to it or something like that.
Oh, right. Because he's, yeah.
I wouldn't worry about that one. That's fine. You can adjust pretty quickly to ping.
Yeah. Oh, here we go.
Oh, based on your level, you're not being completely honest with how many games you played.
Spicy. Someone's done their research here.
You didn't mention the games you played this season in normals. I would estimate you have around 2,000 on your account.
Oh my God.
Double including errands. I think this contributed more to get. I like that a lot. That's a good
That's
call
a
out.
very good point.
Yeah.
Simply Apollo, dude. This guy's a Reddit analyst and hub. I love this.
Because it sounded like
he's a detective.
Just do these things, but the games play. Think
about his league journey. This is, again, you got to look at his league journey.
Yeah.
He's done 1,500 to 2,500 games total on your account. So yeah, it's his first proper rank season. He's like me. It's like me heading into rank when I got Insta Gold. I didn't even know what the fuck I was doing, but I got gold because I played 2,000 normal games.
That's right. It's not like you instantly went to rank.
No,
so
I played
to gold
bolts
will be very
and norms.
quick,
I played a lot of games. Interesting. And then the guy said, partly correct. I have 2,000 to 3,000 games, but on ARAMs. And that does matter because imagine his feel for versing other champs. Like he knows what all the champs do really well.
That's right.
That's actually probably why he could play like that scaling approach because he could probably team fight and skirmish really well because he knows.
That's right. When you play that style, you have to be very competent in terms of playing your champ mechanically.
Yeah, because the way he's actually climbed is something that this is very different to my advice because I usually give the advice player easy to execute champ and just ARAM. And take, don't worry about it.
He's playing hard champs.
He's playing Aurelia.
And now mechanics max in
mechanics maxing and mid game,
really
which is
fair.
interesting. So I mean, look, we can't hate on him too much because it worked, but I think it would have been good for him to note that in the post because that's tying back to understanding your league journey.
Yeah, because someone just reads that, it's like I do all that, and I've only played 100 games a season.
Yeah. I think we move on from this one. Okay, let's look at this one. You want to read this one, Nathan?
Yep. So, simple tip that helped me not to tilt since applying it to myself. Besides the not tilting, it may help you win 1 or 2 more games or 2, but it's not that extreme in regard.
Is this the I think this was the advice he gave.
Okay. I like to think of my teammates and enemies as NPCs during the game, not because of the who random bad, but because I can't influence how they behave and if you want to win. You have to play to the strength of your team's AI, cover the weaknesses of your team's AI, and abuse the weaknesses of your enemy team's AI, while trying to make sure they will not do stuff their AI is programmed not to do well.
Wait, you mean like while trying to make sure they will not get to do stuff their AI is programmed to do well. Oh, so you're trying to deny their enemy's AI. I think that's what the last part was.
I don't understand that. All right, so can I scroll up? I don't really care about the help for the reasons. I just want to get this take. Or maybe I do need to get into the why it helped.
I like his analogy here. He talks about in CSGO, if you get an AFK, he gets replaced by a bot. This bot does not communicate with your team, but he considers pings if you use. So if you ping stay or be or silent, he will sometimes act accordingly. So even if you consider your team bots, you can still try to communicate with your pings. The KI? What's that mean?
I don't know.
I'm assuming AI might listen, and it might also try to tell you their intentions by using the ping system. This last code is a little spaghetti. Okay, let's don't worry about that. The second reason is that, yes, sometimes you know exactly what play is best right now, and this is only the case if your whole team does the best thing. But your 4 NPCs might try to do another thing, and that's objectively worse than yours. But because as NPCs, they're programmed to do what their code says, that will not change their opinion. Therefore, you have to accept that it's better to do the less optimal strategy as 5 than to do your better strategy alone. Even though you would have been right about your idea, it can lose you the game if you try to stick to it when the NPCs don't play along. That's awesome. So if you think of them as NPCs, it's easier to accept to just do the other less optimal strategy then. The third reason is that sometimes you might find unconventional ways to win the game. Have you ever played Assassin's Creed, for example? No matter which one, in almost every Assassin's Creed game, there's a specific approach to killing every enemy in a whole group, one after the other, without taking damage once. It's not always the different approach, but it's consistent in each game. The way to do that is usually making the enemy AI do something that you can react to, then this constantly works. Now, if your enemies in League are AI, you will notice that the enemy Z always uses his WEQ combo the same way, and then everything's off cooldown. You can expect his next timing and then dodge it forwards. Now you can trade in his face because he has everything off cooldown. NPCs and low elo league players often use repeating patterns, abuse them.
Okay, so we're talking about repeating patterns in AI. And
Yeah.
I like this a lot. This is
Kind
cool.
of interesting. It's very unique. I've never heard of this way of viewing it.
I've heard that people saying like that people say it all the time, view your teammates as bots.
Right.
But I think he articulated it for the reason well
In a better way.
And he has like analogies for it.
Yeah, and I think I can see how this could easily get toxic.
Yeah, that's I'm just sitting here thinking like, oh shit, is this because then you'll think your teammates, because people view bots as suck.
Yeah.
But he's viewing bots as like they're going to be predictable.
They're predictable, but also
right?
like it's just something that's out of your control, so you got to adapt.
That's
like,
the better
He's doing
way.
it in an adaptable way. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
the bots are going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
So let me adapt. But whereas like someone who calls it a bot rather than AIs, they're kind of like, oh, my team of bots, they're useless, they're trash. I'm just
Yeah.
going to ignore them and do my own thing.
Yeah.
Whereas he's like adapting to what his team is doing in a way.
Right.
He's viewing like the AI in a healthy way, like as if they're like smart AI or somewhat relatively smart AI.
And then you can control them in a way. And
with pings and communication, which is actually interesting.
And they're predictable. I love this. This is fantastic. I'll link this to people, honestly.
It's actually quite interesting.
I mean, can we scroll up to the top again? I just want to reread the top bit. Yeah, so it just thinks there's NPCs in the game. Yeah, so he even says here, not because they're bad, because I can't influence. Yeah, he just knows that
he knows that he can't influence them.
Yeah.
Like he's got to just go with the flow.
And you have to play to your strength.
Yeah,
and then
play to your strengths and
adapt
cover the weaknesses of the AI. Yeah, you do. Because
Love
if they're
it.
just going to ARAM, you got ARAM. Or
This post should have 1,000 upvotes.
yeah, it's only got 144 as well. I mean, it wasn't written the most articulately, but like, you get the point.
Can we scroll down to the comments here, Charles?
It's interesting when we read these, like you don't know which way they're going.
Yeah,
like I feel like
don't.
I'm like reading a thriller, a horror story, and like I'm gonna get a jump scare on the next turn. Like,
Yeah.
you.
It's true when we read these. All right, so the comments say, I always try to teach people to be a teammate you want your teammates to be. I like that.
Yeah, I like
if
that.
someone else is ahead and doing well, just be happy to help them win the game. It's the hero plays that people make that ruin games and tilt everyone. Yes, we talk about you're not the hero, learning how to lose gracefully, that sort of stuff. So if you can show them that they don't have to make a hero play because you're there to help, it always keep their mental in check.
Wait, what the hell is this? This is getting intense here. Let's. All right. Well, I just want to read the first half of this response. He said, I agree with what you said. I also notice a lot. People trying to be the reason they win the game instead of just being a piece of the puzzle. In single player games and MMOs even sometimes, the player is always the protagonist. The story happens about him. He defeats the villain. If he defeats the villain with a team, they are the clutch factor. If it's a game where you play the villain, you are the main villain, the big bad who refuses to get taken down. People are used to being the protagonist when gaming. They want to be the protagonist when gaming in League, but you are not. You are 20% of the team who wins 50% of the time. Nothing more, nothing less. Some people can't comprehend that. They spam FF when they are the only losing lane because why would they want to play a game when they have to avoid interactions to reach the game's ending, right? Part of the problem is that their all or nothing playstyle gives them the protagonist feeling often enough and that they feel confirmed in it.
Yeah, well, it definitely would work.
Fascinating. This guy's a genius, man.
Yeah, it will. You get reinforced for being.
I've never heard of a frame like that, but it's
protagonist.
the protagonist. You want to be the center of the story, like because that's actually how we come in and we automatically. You say this in a different way. You said that everyone feels as though they deserve. Like the world revolves around them.
That's right.
Right. That's
not even in Lee. That's real life.
It's in real life.
Your problems are the biggest problems ever.
Yeah, your problem is the most important problem in the world, and how can anyone not see that? And everyone, get out of my way and care more about my problem than anyone else.
Yeah, the way that I always talk about is just doing your. He says that you're the 20% of the team. If you do that 20%. Very well, it's like has more impact than the 20%. So it's like doing your job.
That's actually a very helpful way to look at it. All you got to do is do your part, your 20%,
and you have a massive
really,
influence.
really well. Because the 20,
because your opposing opponent, they're doing 5. Let's say if they do 5%,
yeah,
they're bringing their team down. If they're not doing their job,
they're not getting the max value.
They're actually hurting their team more so.
Yeah, dude, this guy is smart, man. This is a Reddit analyst that gets it.
This is the right mindset, excellent advice. People like it. Actually reflects what is true about the world. You don't need to believe anything imaginary to be right about this. Let's just say someone rages in your game, tilts, or intentionally tries to lose. They simply are the way they are as a function of prior causes, like their genes, their environment, their upbringing, which
It's getting dark quickly. Suppose it's in the G.
Yeah.
All right, let's get out of this. It's getting a bit deep here. You don't want to go too deep down the comments. Like the first comment's all right, then it gets out of control.
All right, that's it.
Great.
This is good. Great stuff.
Some terrible ones, some all right ones.
Yeah, I love your analogy, Curtis. It's like when we read these, it's like a horror story.
I don't know which way it's going to go.
You never know where
you read the title, you're like, oh, okay. And then
sometimes you read it, you just know instantly that this
it can go backwards so quickly. Take the wrong turn.
All right, good work, everyone. That's it for episode 2 of whatever the series is called. Again, let us know what you want this to be called, but we're basically just
Reddit Reacts for now.
Well, we're reacting to Summoner School specifically. If we're going to get specific, Curtis, getting into the details.
Okay.
Good work, everyone. We'll see you next time.